Satim Vyasam Tato Jayo Diryat Nashta Preshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagata Sevya Bhagavati Uttamashoki Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiri Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagata Sevya Nigama Kalpatur Garitam Padam Shukamukaramita Dravisamitam Pibata Bhagatam Rashamariam Mohora Sikabhuvi Babakaham Krishna Swadamapagate Dhamagana Hisha Karonashta Dvishamasha Parana Kodunodidam Twamapiya Dabashuta Vishutam Vibhu Samapiyalena Vidambidbhutiram Prakyahidaho Mohorati Tatmanam Sanklesha Nirvana Musanti Nanyata Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinubandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Jayatam Sharito Pango Mama Manir Matirgati Matsavasha Parambojo Radhana Madana Mohanam Sriman Rasaram Vamsivada Karsan Venushan Upako Gopinata Sri Saram Divyat Vrindaranya Kalpadrumada Srimad Radnagara Shima Shanashto Sri Sri Radha Shrita Govinda Prastadabhi Sevimanush Marami Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmanya Taya Cha Jigadi Taya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha Mangalam Bhagavan Vishnu Mangalam Gudhadvaja Mangalam Panidikaksho Mangalaya Tanohari Om Narayanaya Vidmahi Vasudevaya Dhimahi Tano Vishnu Prachodhyate Om Mahadevi Cha Vidnahi Vishnu Patnya Cha Dhimahi Tano Lakshmi Prachodhyate Mahalakshmi Namastuvyam Sare Sare Hari Priya Namastuvyam Dehadere Tapti Kanchana Gorangi Radha Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sudevi Pranamani Hari Priya Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutare Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Tanam Namaste Saraswati Devi Guru Adipacharine Nirvishesa Sanivali Praskadade Sana Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sati Gaur Bhaktavrindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Rama Hare Hare. Good morning, Motivational Monday, segment 131 in Gajendra Lila. And just to bring us up to speed, I'm going to repeat my Gajendra prayers here so we can all get back after the hiatus between here last Wednesday and here. Gajendra, king of elephants, was sporting on a heavenly planet, courting his wives in a lotus-filled lake, cavorting in the water. He'd snorted some honey with his trunk and he was quite drunk. Crocodile latched onto his leg with his jaw, and though he stamped, trampled, and stampeded, he couldn't get the croc to withdraw. In his tug of war, Gajendra was being dragged further from the shore, nagged by the reptile, and strength was flagging day by day. Lacking the back and the other packet of him, Gajendra was alone in this danger zone. The water had turned to foam. His friends had flown, and there was no one to phone. Devoid of his fabled strength at the end of his rope's length, Gajendra's hopes turned to the Lord who awards protection to his devotees. He stopped pulling on his leg, which the croc wanted to devour, and he plucked from the muck of the lake with his trunk a lotus flower and offered it, seeking the Lord's power. Krishna, you're the root of creation, the fruit of the Vedas, the absolute truth who plays upon your flute, the ever-existing youth. Your lotus feet are adored by Lord Brahma and Shiva, who cannot leave you, not even for a beat. Your features are unlimited. You're the ingredient of all creatures, whether they have hands, claws, jaws, or paws. They are all your parts and parcels. Those who are smart engage in your devotional service with all their hearts. You guard those who never depart from the hearth of your sheltering breast. Lord, I confess I've messed up, repressed my service, failed the test. But I'm thirsty for your mercy, which is greater than my mistakes. I've heard that all it takes to awaken your protection is a single cry of hopeless affection. Lord, in spite of my shame, I'm calling your name. In the middle of the fight, please reclaim me from the might of the crocodile's bite. When I'm released from the teeth of the croc, block ignorance of my life and lock me into your devotional service. Lord, let my original purpose rise to the surface. I'm knocking at your door. Please keep me close from now till evermore. When the Lord heard the eloquent prayers of the elephant, he steered Guru to the spot, and he sheared the crocodile's head from his body with his chakra. When the reptile lay dead and Gajendra was shed of his dread, he resumed the thread of his prayers and said, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And here's a further resumption of his prayers. Gajendra, elephant king in danger's grip, his mind stripped of arrogance, his history unzipped. Recalled mantras from a previous life, stripped away as attachments like a knife. Formerly king in Udum, now in elephant form. Yet his prayers echoed weathering the storm. Mantras recalled from a past life, transcendental sound awakening, memories profound. Even if a devotee falls from the path, Krishna in the heart keeps track. At the right time will take up the slack. He carries what you lack. He will get you back home, back to Godhead. Krishna, you're the cause, the result, the witness supreme, transcendental the stream, unseen behind the material screen, the life in the machine. O Lord of all might, give me protection, guide me through the darkness up to the eternal light. Krishna, you're the observer, the transcendental preserver above this creation, aloof like the sun. And yet with your energies, you bless everyone, simultaneously, apart from this world and one. With your multipotencies, you manifest your will, create this universe, your purpose to fulfill. And when it's time to end, you absorb it all back, exactly like a spider retracts his web into his sack. Oh, even if the devotee falls from the path, Krishna, the heart keeps track. At the right time, will take up a slack. He'll carry what you lack. He will get you back home, back to Godhead. Chant Hare Krishna, the Maha Mantras call. In this life or the next, it will never fail. Once it's sown, the bhakti kripa will grow. Sooner or later, you will go back home, back to Godhead. Even if a devotee falls from the path, Krishna, the heart keeps track. At the right time, will take up a slack. He'll carry what you lack. He will get you back home, back to Godhead. Even if a devotee falls from the path, Krishna, the heart keeps track. At the right time, will take up a slack. He'll carry what you lack. He will get you back home, back to Godhead. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. As you know, the third chapter in the 8th canto are the 28 prayers of Gajendra, which he recalled from his previous life. Now, the 6th verse, we're progressing through those prayers, and we're up to the 6th verse. We did mention this a few sessions ago. We're revisiting this. Nayasha Deva Rishyam Padamaju Dantu Punanti Koriatiram Yatanasha Kritabir Vichata Doraja Kamaha Samavata. Examples given by Gajendra Ji. An actor on stage. He's in a different mindset. He's put aside his normal day-to-day character and he's identified with the character, personality of the person whom he's portraying. He may have changed his accent. He may have changed the timbre, the tone, the pitch of his voice. He's got makeup on, maybe eyebrows, maybe a mustache, maybe a wig, maybe eyeliner. He may have padding to make his body look bigger, more muscular, stronger, or maybe just the opposite. Or he may have makeup to make him look younger or make him look older. And then what to speak of the costumery. He has a elaborate costume on. I've told this story before. One time I was emceeing the Los Angeles Rath Yatra. And Radha Carmen, who lives right there in Culver City, she's a Westerner, but she trained in India in Kathakali. Kathakali is a dance form very popular in the South India, particularly Kerala. And it's typified by very elaborate makeup, costume makeup. And the dancers are so heavily made up and so heavily costumed, you don't see the movement that you do in other dances. Kathak, Bharatanatyam, Mohiniyattam. There's a lot of, Odissi, the dancers move and stretch, and there's a lot of visual activity. But Kathakali is much more subtle, sophisticated. The actors can't do much with all these costumes. My wife and I were in Kerala for a week or so, many years ago. It's right during the festival that they have in January in Cochin. They're every day for a week. There are like 20 different presentations of dance and drama. So we happened to see, prior to a Kathakali dance program, we happened to see, and backstage, we were watching the elaborate processes of costuming and making up the actors. It takes about 4 hours on the average, 4 to 6 hours for a presenter, a performer to costume and have makeup and Kathakali. So as a dance form, it's probably the most subtle and sophisticated of all the classical dance forms of India. Instead of the whole body moving and leaping and jumping and going side to side, a lot of it's just in the expression of the mouth, the nose, the nostrils flaring, the eyes expressing surprise or disappointment or joy or anticipation or eagerness. So with all that taken into consideration, there's no way you can identify who is the actor. In fact, in Katakali, you don't even really know whether it's a male or a female, because so completely and thoroughly has the original personality been covered in dress and costume and accent and voice and movement, makeup, that there's no way you can penetrate all that to say, oh, that's Bill, or that's Joe, or that's Mary, or that's Sudhir. You have no idea. You may have heard this story before, but I have a practical experience of that. As I mentioned, I was in Los Angeles emceeing and a dance program. I had they give me the schedule so I can announce it. So I announced Radha Karman, who was going to play the role of Putana in a classical dance piece called Putana Moksha. And Putana comes having smeared her breast with poison in order to induce Krishna to take her breast milk, and thus the idea is to kill Krishna. And this is Kamsa's idea. Kamsa summoned Putana and charged her with the mission of killing Krishna by poisoned breast milk. It wasn't Putana's idea, it was Kamsa's idea. Putana transforms herself into a beautiful woman, and she appears in Vrindavan, and the simple, naive cowherd men and women headed up by Nanda and Yashoda are completely duped by her appearance as a young, beautiful, innocent woman. And when she asks Yashoda if she can't just take Krishna on her lap and go into a separate room to give him her breast milk, Yashoda doesn't protest at all. She gives Krishna right over. Putana goes into a private room. And by this time, Putana has become totally enchanted by the beauty of Krishna. She came there to kill him. It wasn't her idea, it was Kamsa's idea. But no sooner has she set eyes on Krishna than she doesn't think she should do this. The beauty of Krishna, the wisdom, the power that she senses, even though he's just a little toddler, he can't even walk. She still senses emanating from him an unlimited potency. And so she to herself, she thinks, I shouldn't do this. I should be worshiping this child, not plotting to kill him. And but then she thinks, well, if I don't kill the child, Kamsa will kill me. So there's this beautiful play of the head and the expression. She's looking at the child that she's holding next to her breast, 2 or 3 inches from her breast. And she's falling literally in love with Krishna. All souls are attracted to the beauty of Krishna, and Putana was no exception. So she's actually feeling motherly love and the motherly tendency to want to protect the child against all danger. She falls into this mood, and you can see her just becoming submerged in bliss of Krishna. And then she looks up, and then you can tell she's thinking of Kamsa. Well, I don't want to do this, but if I have to do this because Kamsa will kill me. So this way she's looking alternately with love at Krishna and then up in the sky for fear of her life. And I forget how Kamsa actually works into the plot, but Kamsa, she reports back to him, or maybe he sent her. So this is the Putana Krishna thing is going on stage, and here's Kamsa. Kamsa's dressed kind of blackish, and he's all dressed up in the Katakali, and he's ready to go on stage. And this actor comes up to me and he says, Ramachandra. You can't even speak very much because there's so much makeup. Ramachandra. I got completely disoriented. I said, this is, wait, I said, you're an actor, you're part of this drama, and you don't know that this is Krishna Kamsa rather than Ram Ravana? I mean, how is it possible? You've not rehearsed this. You're thinking this is Krishna Kamsa, and I mean, you're thinking this is Ram Ravana rather than Krishna Kamsa. I said, what are you talking about? He said, Ramachandra, Ramachandra. I'm like, what are you talking? Ramachandra has nothing to do with this. You're not Ravana, you're Kamsa. You better get this straight before you go on stage. Then he said again for like the third or fourth time. He's looking at me like his eyes are appealing. His eyes are pleading for me to understand some hidden meaning there. And Ramachandra. Then he said, Salt Lake City. So I said, Ramachandra from Salt Lake City. Then I recognized his name is Chito Ramachandra, and he lived in Salt Lake City, and he's a great patron to the arts, a good friend of mine. I had no idea. I had no idea that Radha Carmen, just as I had come from Salt Lake City down to LA to MC the Rath Yatra on Venice Beach, unbeknownst to me, Radha Carmen needed someone to play the role of Kamsa. And so she'd done some things with Ramachandra before here and there. In fact, she'd also come to our festival of India and played the role of Putana. I guess she affiliated with Ramachandra then. I wasn't aware of it so much. But she'd flown Ramachandra down to play the role of Kamsa. So he was saying Ramachandra, he was telling me that he was Ramachandra. He wasn't telling me that he was Ramachandra in the drama, but he was Ramachandra in real life. And yet, with all of the subterfuge, all of the layers of deception or misleading, I until he said Salt Lake City, I couldn't identify who he was. So similarly, Krishna says, Nayasha Devari, Jantam Punanti, even demigods like Lord Brahma and Shiva. Indra totally underestimated who Krishna was when he tried to inundate the whole area of Vrindavan in storm clouds. Brahma totally underestimated the power of Krishna when he stole away the boys and the calves and the cowherd boys. If even Indra and Brahma, great demigods, and Shiva on various occasions also underestimated Krishna, being under yogamaya potency. Sages, even great saints and sages, sit and discuss for years on end the pastimes of Krishna, and they still are only circling around the outside, the periphery of the mystery of Krishna's pastimes and activities. So then the statement is made by Gajendra, the elephant here, if demigods like Brahma and Shiva, Indra, great saints and sages, Asito, Devala, Vyasa, they know Krishna's God, they identify, they direct their efforts, their considerable intellectually prowess, and meet to Shanti Cha, Ramanti Cha, Makchida Magarama, and they discuss and they churn nectar amongst each other, and still after all that, to understand Krishna completely and thoroughly and intimately, it is not doable by the living being. The soul, the Atma, does not have the intellectual capacity to measure the length and breadth of Krishna, to understand that the depths and the heights and the breadth of Krishna's power and Krishna's pastime. Then Gajendra says, if that's true, what to speak of Jantu, those living entities who are no better than animals. In the Mano Samhita, there's a whole set of rules about proper behavior, proper conduct. And unless and until one follows the codes of Mano Samhita, one is not a man. Simply that one has 2 arms, 2 legs, a human head, a human brain, a human body, a human torso, does not make one a man. One becomes a man when one follows the uplifting codes of the Mano Samhita. That's what the meaning is. Manu. Manu is the derivative for man. So Manu Samhita is there to tell us that when we follow the codes of Manu Samhita, then we are human beings. If you pick up a copy of Manu Samhita, should one be available, mostly it's lost, but there are some versions floating around here and there. It's very, very codified, very extensive, very difficult to understand. And some of the punishments for having transgressed these codes are like pretty hard to take in our modern enlightened society. So let's put aside the Manu Samhita for now as being too impractical, too removed in history and too elevated for us to follow, as well as the punishments, the downsides, the negatives are too distressful for us to accept in our so-called enlightened liberal society. Let's just boil down all the codes of behavior in this Kali Yuga age, for the current age, when people are short-lived, their intellects are clouded, they're hardly serious about spiritual life. All the codes of the Manu Samhita can be boiled down for this time, this places, in this circumstance, into four: no illicit sex, no gambling, no intoxication, no meeting. When one follows these four principles, no illicit sex, that means if you're single, you're celibate. If you're married, you're faithful. No intoxication, that means even coffee, tea, cigarettes. No gambling, and no eating of meat, fish, poultry, etc., etc. Then one becomes a human being. Prabhupada's minimum requirements to become a disciple of a bona fide guru, where no illicit sex, no gambling, no intoxication, no meeting. Prabhupada was sending out a signal by these conditions for initiation that he's not going to initiate any jantus. There's no point in initiating animals. You can go to a dog or a cat and you can speak the truths of the Vedas. You can even reduce it to the one most basic elemental truth, aham brahmasmi. You can look at a dog in the eye, a bird in the eye, a llama in the eye, and you can, with all of your willpower, try to communicate to them, you're not this body, you're not a llama, you're not a dog, you're not a bird. Useless, useless. They'll just look at you. If they're looking intently at you, if it seems like they're paying attention, if it seems like they're listening, they're really just wondering, has he got food? Is there food in his pocket? Does he have food? And if the animal concludes that you don't have any food, you just turn around and walk away and ignore you. It says, Yashadma Buddhi Kunapi Tritahadiki Swadihi Kadatradishu Bomit Yadihi Yatirta Buddhi Sadi Najanashu Bignishu Seva Gochara. Those are animals who take the body as a self. The place of their birth is worshipable. They're like cows and asses. Gokara. Go means cow, kara means asses. If the great saints and demigods and sages can't understand the Lord or properly express his glories in words, even Anantashesha, the snake, the incarnation who becomes Balaram, who becomes Lakshman, who becomes Nityananda, who has many hoods, who've been chanting the glories of the Lord since time immemorial, even he cannot properly come to the end of the glories of the Lord. Then Gajendra says, what to speak of men who are like animals? What to speak of Jantu? They can neither understand him nor can they express in words his actual position. The Lord exists in a way that's inconceivable to our intellect. Our intellect is like a little pea rooted in time and space, and yet the Lord, Saivata Panipadat, Saivata Sutinri, Saivata Shutimaleke, Savmari Tatish, everywhere his hands and legs, his arms and legs. He sees everything, he hears everything. In this way, he exists everywhere. He enters into, pervades, and supports the entire universe. And above that, he is in the hearts of every living being. Sarvasya chaham ridi. Sarvasya means in all living beings, in all the 8,400,000 species of life, the Lord resides within each and every heart as the super soul. Chetragam chapi mambidi, 13th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, says that alongside of the individual soul, the Atma, you and I, there is another Atma who is called the Paramatma. That is the expansion of the Lord who exists within the hearts of each and every living entity. Yogis perform penances and austerities. They do asanas, they do pranayama for lifetimes after lifetime, trying to recognize, trying to discern the Lord who sits in our heart. And yet that Lord who sits in their heart is an expansion of expansion of expansion of expansion, expansion of the Lord. And even that expansion, many times over, many times removed from the original absolute truth, Krishna, even that expansion, they are unable to achieve the tip of the toe of his lotus feet, except after many, many lifetimes of yogic practice. When Arjuna asked Krishna, which is more practical, which is more doable for the soul, to realize you in your impersonal feature, to realize you as the Paramatma in the heart, or to realize you as I am seeing you, the Bhagavan, the Supreme Original Personality, face to face. And even though Bhagavan realization is the highest realization of which the jiva is capable, and Paramatma is second class, and Brahman is third class, even though Bhagavan is the highest realization, Savaya Pum Samparo, there is no higher thing, there is no better thing that the living being can achieve other than devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavan, in a face-to-face relationship. Even though that is head and shoulders above all of the realizations, still Krishna declares to Arjuna, that's the easiest. That's the easiest, that's the quickest, that's the most straightforward. If you have devotion, the other processes involve one's own efforts of austerity, of yoga, one's own exertions. It's an uphill battle. It's like climbing the stairs to the top of the Empire State Building. Whereas bhakti or devotion is like taking the elevator by the grace of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Krishna is discouraging, in the words of the Bhagavad Gita, in the page of the Srimad Bhagavatam, saying, don't take the hard way for an inferior result. Take the easy way for a superior result. Namo Mahabharanaya Krishna Premabhadayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namani Gortsvaya Namaha. Krishna came, took the trouble, having come just a few years ago as Krishna in the beginning of the Kali Yuga, at the end of the Dwarka Yuga age. And he sojourned on the planet for 125 years, during which he befriended Arjuna, was like a brother to Draupadi, married the goddess of fortune in the form of Rukmini, spoke the immortal words of the Bhagavad Gita. This is just the other day in terms of cosmic time, 5,000 years ago, just a finger's snap. And yet, over and above that, he came again 500 years ago as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because to achieve Krishna, according to the prescription of the Bhagavad Gita, became impossible once time revolved, rotated from the previous age, Dwarka age, to the Kali Yuga age. Once that transition was accomplished and Krishna was no longer physically present on the planet, in one sense, the process for God realization described by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita is no longer possible. Yesham tu antigadam papam jnana. Only those who have been free from sinful activities for many, many births in the past, and who are fixed in determination and celibacy and determined to achieve my lotus feet, those are the ones who achieve success. Well, who measures up to that standard in the Kali Yuga age, having been free from sinful activities for many, many, many births? I don't know about you, but I took birth in a family of meat eaters and people who drank alcohol. And both my parents smoked until they gave it up in their latter years because it was a health risk. I can't say of myself that I've been free of sinful activities for many, 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 many births in the past. So therefore, Krishna came again as the most merciful of his representatives, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And what was impossible to achieve, even in the previous age by more exalted people, Lord Chaitanya is giving it out. He's standing on the street, handing it out free of charge. Love of God directly. Just chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And the reason that this is possible, the reason that the highest goal, love of God, is so accessible through the agency of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is that it's already there within the heart. It's not something external. It's not something artificial. We are all originally Krishna conscious living beings. Therefore, all we have to do is turn to Krishna. All we have to do is remember Krishna. All we have to do under the guidance of the expert spiritual masters, remove the dust, the veil, the shadow of forgetfulness, to revive that which is already there, and will be successful. Janma karma medavyam evam yovidi chakvadeyam punarjama neti mamiti sarjana. In the Bhagavad Gita, 4th chapter, 9th verse, Krishna says to Arjuna, one simply has to understand in truth, not superficially, not from non-devotees, not from academics, but from a practicing devotee. Tadvini pranipranena pariyapashupadekshanti team jnaninasantam. You have to identify, you have to find a devotee. Actually, you have to be sincere about solving the problems of life and getting answers to the eternal questions, who am I, why am I here, and where am I going? And when there's sincerity in the heart, you don't actually have to find the teacher, the guide. Krishna will send you that teacher. He will send you that guide after many, many births and deaths in various species and on higher planets and lower planets, is caroming like a pinball all over the universe for who knows how many lifetimes. Finally, one gets traction, one gets this sincerity to put a stop to this senseless wandering, this meaningless caroming here and there, up and down, side to side. And when that happens, it says Krishna discerns that sincerity from within the heart. After all, Krishna is in the heart. He knows your desires and your intentions. So he fulfills them by sending you a bona fide spiritual master. When that spiritual master appears before one has to inquire from them submissively and serve them sincerely. One has to be an assistant to the spiritual master in spreading the gospel of Krishna far and wide for the benefit of the souls who are lost and misled in this material world. And when you thus do good to yourself, and in doing good to yourself, do good to other people, then Krishna becomes understood. Krishna is accessible to those who approach Krishna's devotees. Krishna is the possession of his devotees. He doesn't go outside of the sanction of his devotees in order to get souls back home, back to Godhead. The devotees are the life rope. The devotees are the inner tube. Imagine a helicopter. Helicopter doesn't go into the water. A helicopter lowers on a line an inner tube or a harness. And when the person floundering in the ocean harnesses up or puts themselves inside the inner tube, then the helicopter draws that person, retracts them, and brings them into the womb of that helicopter with a winch. So that line down to us is the sampradaya, the line of disciplic succession, beginning from the time when Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, coming down in disciplic succession through the ages. This is the way that one can understand God, not through one's own efforts of asceticism or yoga or philosophical inquiry or attending the temple or even knowing scriptures or quoting verses. One must preliminarily follow the regulative principles. One must become at least a human being. Because the verse which Gajendra uttered says it's difficult. He doesn't say it's impossible, but it's difficult for yogis and sages and demigods under the Krishna. But it is impossible for those who are jantu, for those who are subhuman. Again, 2 arms, 2 legs, but not plugged into the Vedic culture, acting animalistically for the immediate gratification of the senses. For such types of people, it's impossible. Doesn't mean that once you're a human being, once you follow the principles of humanity, no illicit sex, no intoxication, no gambling, no meeting, doesn't mean that you're automatically going to understand Krishna. Not at all. It just means that you're now eligible for the mercy of the Lord. It means you're eligible. There's nothing you can actually do to force the Lord to grant you his mercy, except that you can create your own eligibility. And then being an eligible candidate, approaching those who can show you the way. There are many people who have a sense of God. It doesn't take a huge intellect to know that we're not in control, that there's a beautiful, precision, well-ordered unlimitedly expanded universe of which we're a small part. This was not created by ourselves. It's not organized by ourselves. It's not ordained by ourselves. We're just along for the ride. We're just a little flea on the head of the ox, so to speak. There are many people throughout all the universes who have a sense of a supreme controller, a supreme creator. But at the same time, most of those think that God is in their sect, in their church, or in their agenda. And most of those also fail to follow the instructions of the Lord so far as moral character is concerned. Therefore, even though they call themselves religious, they're still sinful because of failing to follow the guidelines of the Lord. They believe something, they believe in something transcendental, but by their actions, they don't qualify themselves to participate in transcendence. They engage in despicable activities, things which are antithetical to spiritual progress, like smoking and drinking and eating meat. I know that my parents were Episcopalian back in Pennsylvania. All the Episcopalian priests, they drank, they smoked, they ate meat. One of our priests went to a hospital for rehab for alcoholism. So one can know, one can intimate the existence of the Supreme Personality of God. At the same time, it's possible that many, or even most people who call themselves religious will not be able to save themselves at the time of death. In spite of their faith, in spite of their belief, they're going to be in for a big surprise at the time of leaving this body. So this is like someone who knows something about swimming. They've seen some videos. They've been to the beach and watched other people swim. So they kind of know from the outside in, like you can have seen honey, but you've never tasted honey. You've only seen it from the outside, or maybe you've licked the glass jar, which just hardly gives you any experience of what the honey itself tastes like. So there are many people who are third-class religionists, third-class devotees. They don't actually have the power of saving themselves. Imagine three categories of people. One are the ones that don't know how to swim. If you put them in the pool of the ocean, they'll drown. They're that level of swimmer that don't know how to save themselves. Then there's another swimmer, a little bit more advanced, called the Kanishta Adhikari, who actually knows the truths of Scripture, who follows the regular principle, who's more than an animal, and by chanting, by attaching themselves to the saintly person, by having an attraction for the temple and the mosque, and by not being critical and judgmental of other people, of other traditions, of other faiths, who are also moving forward towards the divine, one becomes a second-class devotee. That means you can swim. You can enter into the spiritual atmosphere of transcendence. You can feel comfortable knowing the difference between spiritual matter. You can engage in preliminary elementary activities, which have to do with the spiritual world. But unless and until you meet an acharya, a bona fide, realized, practicing representative of the spiritual world who comes in the chain of disciplic accession, ultimately, you're not going to be able to save others. One must not only know the way, but one must show the way, and one must not only know the way and show the way, but one must go the way. So the third-class devotee, he knows the way. The second-class devotee, he shows the way. But the first-class devotee, he knows the way, he shows the way, and he goes the way. So this is the secret. This is the key. Atapi te deva parambu jabaya prashadalashena. This is why, on our own, and even including great demigods and sages, no, it's almost impossible to know the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There's only one way, and that is if the Supreme Personality of Godhead decides to reveal himself to you. What is it that's going to sway the Lord to reveal? What is going to induce, even force, you might say, the all-powerful Supreme Personality of Godhead to reveal himself to the devotee? And once he reveals himself to the devotee, he becomes the devotee's servant. Once the Lord reveals himself to the devotee, he becomes available at the beck and call of that devotee. Why is he going to do that? Why would he do that? And the answer is because you are attached to someone to whom the Lord has already surrendered himself. If you serve the devotee to whom the Lord has already revealed himself, to whom the Lord has already sold himself out to, then the Lord becomes irresistibly attracted to you. There's a saying, love me, love my God. If you love the great man's dog, then the great man will love you. Forget about going directly to the great man. You love his dog, and then the great man will automatically love you. You love those whom the great man loves, then the great man will love you. That's the secret. That's what Gajendra is alluding to here. Unless you're a devotee of a bona fide devotee, you'll never understand the Supreme Personality of God. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Well, we'll end here for Motivational Monday, and we'll talk more tomorrow about how we recognize a devotee, who is a devotee, what are the qualities, what are the particular features of those who have captured the Lord by their love and their devotion. Brent is joined us as always. My Bobby. Gita's become a regular last week and this week. She sent me a Facebook request and I confirmed that. And ever since then, she's joined us every morning. Ram Kishore, time to time, he jumps on board, doing great things in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Going up in your general part of the woods in a couple of weeks, I think October 12th, the great festival organizer, Prem Kishore, is organizing the first Festival of Colors in Sault Ste. Marie, just across the river from Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan is another Sault Ste. Marie in Canada. So it's one fly here. He's organizing the debut Festival of Colors in Sault Ste. Marie, and I'll be joining him up there October 12th. Natasha, Hare Krishna. Thank you for joining. I'm thinking of those beautiful kids that you've taken under your wing and are giving them so many opportunities. Britta, Jaya Shri Krishna. Britta, you've got some good artwork going on now on your Facebook and your teaching sessions. What we always look forward to is some verses, some rhyming from Brent. It is advisable to regulate their life because the Lord may be unrecognizable. His yogamaya, like the actor on the stage, may cause you to miss the message for our age. There are 4 principles to make us men so that we might recognize him again. The spiritual master can help you see when you approach him as a human with humility. Human, humility. First become human, then become humble. It is advisable to regulate your life because the Lord may be unrecognizable. His yogamaya, like the actor on the stage, may cause you to miss the message for our age. There are 4 principles to make us men, so we might recognize him again. The spiritual master can help you see when you approach him as a human with humility. Very nicely expressed. Lilavati, good morning. Hare Krishna. Yogi and Pragna, Ramesh came along Saturday night to Salt Lake City. We sat at a table. We talked. Congratulations on having another grandson. Just like Vinaka had first a girl and then a boy, the sister, they're so much in sync that she also had first a girl and now she's had a boy. So matching sets from each one of your 2 daughters. And from what Ramesh told me, newly arrived boy is in very good health, doing well. So thank you very much. Natasha says Sault Ste. Marie, Sault Ste. Marie. Isn't that? I thought that's what I said. Sault, it's spelled S-A-U-L-T. Sault Ste. Marie, Sault Ste. Marie. Thought that's what I said, but Obviously not. Rob, you have anything for us on this Monday morning?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I got a couple.
Super. Lay them on us, if you will.
Krishna should not be underestimated. Devotees will be elevated and demons decimated. Our lifeline is the disciplic line.
Yeah.
Yep. Haribol.
Thank you for that. I trust you'll send them to me so I can post them on Facebook. Okay, we have a very nectarine session ahead of us tomorrow where we're going to actually talk about more on the qualities of pure devotees who purchase the Lord with their love and devotion, pure devotees from whose side the Lord cannot depart even for a moment. Just imagine the exalted stature of such devotees of the Lord. It's the best subject matter of all. So if you'll rejoin us tomorrow on Transcendental Tuesday, we'll dive into that. In the meantime, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.